Owner refused to let me do jury duty. This was back in the 80s, my first job, working as maintenance man at a local hotel. I'd been working there part-time since I was 16, and when I turned 18, I got a notice to attend jury duty. I picked a week and I let my boss know. The owner of the hotel found out. He was always a completely unreasonable jerk to all the employees, and sees me in the hallway and tells me that I need to do whatever it takes to get out of jury duty because he needs me at the hotel that week for a large dog show. Clogged drains, etc. And if I'm not at work, I'm fired. When I get to jury duty, day 1, I get selected to a week-long trial, and the judge asks jurors if there's any reason we cannot serve on the jury. They go around. When they get to me, I'm nervous, never been in court before and too scared to lie. I tell the judge that the owner of the business I work at will fire me if I'm not back today, and said I needed to do everything I can to get out of jury duty or I'm fired. Other than that, I'm fine serving. The judge looks pissed. The judge has me approach the bench, asks for the name of the owner, location, etc. Then he hands the court officer a paper and says something to the officer. The judge still looks pissed. I'm told to return to the jury box. About an hour later, still selecting a jury, the officer returns with the owner, visibly shaken, in handcuffs, and walked to the front of the judge's bench. The owner is standing in front of the judge. The judge asks him questions which he apologetically tries to worm out of. Then the judge, looking even more pissed, instructs him that I will be here for jury duty, I will serve as long as I need to, and he should not do anything to retaliate against me, and that the judge is filing charges and will be instructing the clerk to check with me regularly, and if, for any reason, I am fired or face any disciplinary action at work, he will hold the owner in contempt, violation of a court order, etc., a bunch of legal stuff, and he will spend time behind bars thinking about how important jury duty is. Then the judge makes him apologize to me, in court. I made it onto the jury and I served the week. I reported back to work the following week. I expected some blowback, but I never got fired, none of my shifts were changed, and I got paid for my time in jury. I didn't ask why I got paid. The clerk did check back a few times and I was told to call the judge's clerk direct phone number if anything happened. It was awesome. I was pretty much bulletproof and worked until I saved enough to go back to school.
Now to the comments. This happened where I live. Some exec fired a woman for going to jury duty because it was important that the employee stay at work to produce some press release for the company. When the lady went to jury duty and was visibly upset, the judge got the story and sent county deputies who dragged that exec out of the office in handcuffs. The exec got a good lesson in civics. The lady got her job back, but I think she declined, and got another job pretty quickly.
It's good that she got another job, because if she had stayed then she'd be walking on eggshells for a long time, or at least won't get promoted as long as her executive is around.
Nah, she'd have been bulletproofed like OP was in his story. This kinda shit pisses off judges in a big way. Do not piss off a judge. It will not go well for you.
I saw this play out once while waiting to see if I'd be placed in a jury pool. The judge who was presiding over the initial swearing-in asked that anyone in attendance who had a valid reason they couldn't be a juror come forward and state their case. Several people come forward, and one of them says, I was told by my manager that I'd lose my job if I got jury duty, and was visibly distraught. The judge paused, then asked, where do you work, who is your boss, and what is your boss's phone number? It was a fairly large HVAC company in our area that spams commercials on the local TV stations. She takes the info, hands it to a bailiff and says, please bring me this man, and the bailiff walks away. I ended up being dismissed about 20 minutes later, but I wish I'd been able to stick around for the show.
LMAO the power. Bring me this man. Love it. Was called to jury duty a few years ago. One poor guy also in the pool worked nights, he couldn't afford to take off. Judge saw him having a hard time staying awake, asked him a few questions and excused from jury duty. The judge called down to the jury room and told the clerk that this jury member had served his week and was marked excused. I enjoyed watching this judge in action. She was firm but kind when needed.
Oof yeah, I work 2:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. and sleep like a rock most nights until about 11 a.m. I had jury duty one week and had to show up at 6 a.m. for selection. I was so tired I was nodding off while waiting and the guy next to me had to keep waking me up. The judge noticed and I explained that I worked nights and could still do the trial as my employer was great about excusing workers for things like jury duty or National Guard service, but I'd be very tired for a few days while my sleep schedule recovered. The judge said he remembered working nights in a warehouse while going to law school, so he sympathized and appreciated my showing up despite being exhausted. Then he sent me home excused. He was really chill about it too.
I love when people in places of power have experience working in low-level positions. It's such an important part of learning sympathy for others. Most people just don't have the level of sympathy required to understand the strain of issues which vary significantly from what they or people close to them have faced. So it is exceptionally important for someone in a position like these judges to have an idea of what it's like working physical labor or night shifts. You did the right thing. Business owners have to realize sooner or later that it is illegal to do what your boss did. Good on ya.
My HR has an immense respect for civic service, so it's automatically paid, no hassle. I think they'd at least ask me to try to explain that I'm mission critical. They don't have a replacement right now, and my boss doesn't know enough yet to be a backup.
Got called for jury duty twice in my life. Both times were when I was working for law enforcement, in a civilian capacity. First time, I stayed all day and then was sent home in a group that wasn't needed. Second time, I made it through voir dire on a criminal case. I thought for sure when I said, I work at the county jail, I wouldn't be selected, but I guess not. We were kept in another room for a few hours, and then told to go home because the case had been plea bargained at the last second. Edit should clarify. They weren't brisk in sending us home. We were led back into the courtroom, and the prosecutor, defense attorney, and judge each thanked us for doing our civil service. The judge gave a lovely, inspiring speech about the importance of jury trials and how juries keep the justice system honest. Nobody enjoyed this entire ordeal more than that judge. This is probably a story he tells dinner guests while laughing his ass off.
Yeah, judges are some of the most, rightfully, sadistic people on the planet. They absolutely love making people who deserve to stain their undies do so.
One of favorite podcasts, as a joke, said judges must basically take mic drop lessons. I love when bad business owners and bosses tell you that you won't be serving jury duty. No, dingus, I'm legally compelled to appear in court when summoned there. I'm not getting arrested and charged just to pull some extra shifts for you. See you once it's over. The last time I got called into jury duty, I worked in a legal office. I happened to get called into the courthouse just a mile from the office, and actually got put into a pool for a murder trial. Before anything interesting happened, I was chatting with an older woman who was a lawyer herself, and knew my boss. She's the one who said I should make sure to name him, as apparently, he had a bit of a reputation in the courthouse. When the judge asked for reasons why we couldn't serve, the woman next to me said she was a lawyer herself, and was immediately excused. They came to me, and I said I work in a legal office, that my boss didn't pay for jury duty, and when they asked where, I told them. The judge nodded, then smiled. I know him. He's a cheap son of a gun. Excused.
I was called for jury duty, UK, and didn't go. It was in a different county miles and miles away from where I lived. Had a slight discussion/argument on the phone and was told I would have no choice but to go. In the end I didn't have the travel funds, so there was no way I could make it. Nothing happened. Haven't been called up again.
In the end I didn't have the travel funds. You'd be out of pocket for the expenses yourself. 3 rules in life. 1. Never get into a land war in Asia. 2. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line. 3. Never get into a dick measuring contest with a judge.
Love the Princess Bride reference.
Classic film.